Everyone, and welcome to the Senate Standing Committee on Economic Development, Tourism, and Labor. This is our fourth meeting of this legislative session. I do welcome everyone, and if you have a cell phone, if you please would just turn that to silence or vibrate while we do our meeting to conduct our business day, it will be greatly appreciated. If anyone is wishing to speak in support or against any of the bills we have on the agenda, the sign-in sheet is at the entrance of the door. It is my discretion for the amount of time speaking in opposition or support of those bills for those that do wish to sign up. Sasha, if you would, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Here.
Senator Funke Fromeyer. Senator Gardler. Senator Harper Angel. Senator Howell. Senator Mills. Senator Storm. Senator Thomas. Senator Wilson.
Here.
Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Chairman Wise.
Present. We do have a quorum, a duly constituted business today. We have a number of our individuals here who have some guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. First to Senator Howell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to have with me a couple of pages for the day. Brody and Cole Morris. Not only are they from my district, they're two of my son Owen's best friends, so it's fun to have them up here. I love doing this anyway, but having a couple of guys come up here that I've known literally all their lives is fun. So appreciate you making them real welcome, letting them hang out with me today.
Let's give a warm welcome to these two guests today. Sharp-looking young men. Senator Thomas.
Yes, and likewise, thank you. First of all, thank you, Chairman Wise. I have with me a page today, Ms. Kara Arabaka. She's here from Fayette County, and I'm excited about having her here. She's already been with me to the Education Committee meeting, and now she's here with Economic Development. I'd like to have all the senators here just welcome her.
Certainly, thank you, Senator Thomas. Carol, welcome to the Economic Development Committee. Members and audience, please let's give a round of applause for being here. The last one is guest of mine, old friends from my old Senate district from Russell County, sitting in the very back. He's no stranger to the back row as a Baptist, I'm sure. That's being Nick Scheer, the former mayor of Russell Springs, and his son Maddox Scheer, who's here today. Maddox is a freshman at Russell County. He's a sharpshooter from the three-point line. Watch out in that region if you ever have to go up against the young Scheer and the family there. But Nick, welcome. I appreciate your service you provided back to Russell Springs with your job there as the previous mayor and also what you do for the Community Action Council that you provide there. Welcome to both of y'all here today. Seeing no other introductions, let's move right into our business for today. And I'm going to go first with House Bill 264, an act relating to regulatory relief. The sponsor is Representative Phil Pratt, who's not a stranger to this committee. Representative, good to see you, my friend. I know you've got some guests at the table. There also is one on Zoom that will be also testifying in support of your bill. But Representative Pratt, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee members. Phil Pratt, 62nd District.
Yes, sir. I'm Tom Underwood. I'm the State Director for the National Federation of Independent Business.
We have a committee sub, please.
Yes, we do. Do we have a motion to adopt the committee sub? We have a motion. We have a motion and a second from Senator Boswell and Senator Wheeler. All those in favor of accepting the sub, please do so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All the committee sub does to the bill is we had an organization, Hospital Association, asked to be left out. I agreed, and that's all it does in the bill. Well, what is a regulatory sandbox and how can it help? It provides space for entrepreneurs, innovators from small startups to large corporations try new ways of doing things without excessive, outdated regulations. Sandboxes allow regulators their flexibility to safely monitor and foster new ideas instead of simply shutting them down. A universal regulatory sandbox is big enough to include all businesses, especially future industries we have not even thought of yet. And actually, we already have a sandbox bill in Kentucky. The insurance industry already has a sandbox bill. At this point in time, Tom?
Thank you, Chairman Pratt and members of the committee, Chairman Wise. What this bill does is it basically creates a guardrail around innovation so that these companies can develop new products and services in a supervised fashion. If there are certain regulations that would hinder that development, they have a supervised way. The agencies can watch what's going on as it progresses. They are there for 1 year is what they get to do. And at the end of that year, they have to, in addition to the progress reports, they have to do a final report to say how it worked. They are guardrails in this to protect consumers, the environment, and these can only be for companies that are located in Kentucky, working with Kentucky consumers. With the increase in manufacturing, in research, in all the things we're doing in Kentucky, this will be something to help our companies, whether it be on autonomous vehicles or research in any other area. This is an opportunity to say Kentucky wants you to be here and to bring us new products and new services so you can grow in the marketplace.
Wonderful.
Is it Real Guru on via Zoom?
Yeah, I think we've got Reese Impey. If I mispronounced that name, I do apologize.
No, you pronounced it great. And I actually have to speak neutrally to the bill just due to our 501c3 status and company policy. I've been asked to kind of give a historical rundown. So Chair Wise and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to provide this testimony today. My name is Reese Empey, and I'm the Director of State Government Affairs at Libertas Institute, a nonprofit based in Utah. And regulatory sandboxes are something we've worked extensively on across the country. In short, a regulatory sandbox enables innovators, businesses both big and small, old and new, to work with regulators and the legislature in trialing new products, services, and business models, while regulations inapplicable to their idea are temporarily waived. At the same time, consumer protection is critical because an idea that will obviously harm consumers won't make it past the application process. And regulators, while the trial is taking place, keep an eye on businesses in the sandbox through reporting. Also, businesses in the sandbox can still be held civilly liable if harm comes as a result of one of their products. So in other words, let's say that I've got this new innovative idea I want to trial, but outdated regulations are standing in my way. I'd approach the sandbox, explain my great idea, highlight the regulations standing in my way, or work with the sandbox to figure out which regulations those are. And upon acceptance in the sandbox, I'm allowed to operate while receiving a temporary waiver of those regulations. Now, during this trial period, I'm reporting to the sandbox administrator on what's happening, and the sandbox prepares a report on recommended reforms or even repeals with this data coming out of the sandbox so that I can take my company out of the sandbox and onto the full market with a reformed regulatory code. This concept began in 2014 in the United Kingdom when they launched the world's first sandbox and targeted financial technologies, or fintech. And shortly after, several countries such as Singapore, Australia, Japan, and others began implementing sandboxes of their own while expanding the concept's application to other industries. Stateside in 2018, Arizona passed the United States' first sandbox, which also targeted fintech, and something similar began to happen. States such as North Carolina, Hawaii, Connecticut, Vermont, Utah, and Florida, as well as several others, implemented sandboxes of their own while also expanding the concept to other industries such as healthcare, insurance, agriculture, energy, and others, all with strong bipartisan support. Kentucky being the first state to implement an insurance sandbox in 2019. Now, as of today, this year, there have been 19 sandbox-related bills introduced across the country, just this year. And in Utah, we've worked on a handful of sandboxes. The legislature overwhelmingly passed a fintech sandbox in 2019, an insurance in 2020, and expanding it to any and all industries in 2021. Now in 2022, we dissolved our fintech and insurance sandboxes to bring them under that same universal sandbox umbrella, while the legislature also overwhelmingly passed an education sandbox. Now we're excited about these regulatory sandboxes because it invites the business community to the table to highlight what's standing in the way of innovation, and it allows these innovators to build meaningful relationships with regulators as well as legislators while creating a more welcoming regulatory environment for the innovations of tomorrow. We're excited to see Kentucky considering a universal sandbox. Utah and Arizona already possess very similar programs, and this opens the door for these innovations.
We do have a motion on the question, Senator Thomas. You got one. Okay.
Senator Pratt, Representative Pratt, I don't object or have any problems with the bill itself. However, as you probably are aware, in the Senate, we've been debating the juvenile justice bill and its impact on the state. And one of the compromises that was made there by Senator Carroll was that, and now I want to focus your attention on page 3, lines 14 through 16 of the proposed committee substitute. Page 3, lines 14 through 16 of the committee substitute. Let me know when you're there. Subparagraph C of section 2. It's Section 2C.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. What we did in our juvenile justice measure to make sure that we had a diversity of opinion, because I believe, Representative Pratt, that good public policy means that you bring everyone to the table of different backgrounds, different interests, different viewpoints, and from that diversity of opinion, you really get a good consensus outcome as how to move forward as a society. What I would like to see is what we did in the juvenile justice bill. We had the president of the Senate appoint a member to that committee, the Speaker of the House appoint a member to that committee, and then the minority leaders of both the House and the Senate appoint a leader to that committee in the juvenile justice area. I would like to see the same thing done here. So again, in such an important area, the sandbox idea is really innovative and creative, but you make sure that you get a diversity of viewpoint with regard to the sandbox advisory committee.
I have no problem with that at all. The only thing about these are non-voting ex officio members who are appointed.
That's the way it is with the juvenile justice
Okay.
legislation as well.
I have no problem with that, sir.
Senator Thomas, I think that may be something after the bill passes through today if we want to continue on that conversation.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Senator Wheeler?
I just want to, you mentioned autonomous vehicles, and, there's a few of us up here that have a little bit of heartburn about that subject. I just want to make sure this is not a way to essentially backdoor policies and technologies through this sandbox that have not been approved by the General Assembly.
I'll take that question if you like. I picked autonomous vehicles because I get nervous in front of committees, and that was the first one I thought of to come up with.
Well, the question remains the same. Is this
Question-
yeah,
yes.
I mean,
I don't see this as being an opportunity to backdoor anything, because the oversight by the Attorney General's office, because of the representatives from the General Assembly, and to Senator Thomas's point, more viewpoints are always better when we're looking for more ways to expand and innovate. And so it is not the intention of this bill to create any opportunity like that.
thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Howell? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a follow-up to Senator Wheeler's question. As I understand it, there's still basic restrictions in place. You mentioned environmental and this sort of thing. Is the net effect of doing this is to allow this in a free environment to figure out exactly what we have in anything, whether it's so does the net effect of that help our regulators be able to regulate this appropriately by being able to determine kind of what exactly it is we're dealing with that's new or different, so we can deal with that appropriately if it diverges from something we've done in the past? Is that kind of how this works on the back end?
Yes, sir, exactly. Again, and if you look at the makeup of the people overseeing it, again, this is basically a business community. I see us as a way of getting out of the way and trying it, again, instead of saying no. And hopefully we'll get some good ideas and good projects out of this.
Can I have a follow-up on that?
Please proceed.
Because I kind of agree with Senator Wheeler. I've got teenage drivers. It makes me nervous to turn them loose with a human being behind a wheel. But this is something that is going to be on our radar that we have to adjust with autonomous vehicles. And this is my understanding. This kind of allows us to test this in a controlled environment. So we can manage upside and downside better, and then reg it on the back end. Whereas just letting it go and come and go organically could create more problems than it solved.
If
Is
I
that-
may,
Yes.
2 points, sir. In the bill itself, it does require the approval and investment of the regulatory bodies to be a part of the decision to allow a sandbox to go forward. And the second thing is that you are correct. I had a driver that I put on the road, and it was terrifying for everyone, including the other drivers.
Senator Boswell?
I feel the same way that Senator House about the autonomous vehicle and concerns that these people have. We talk a lot of generalities here about the sandbox, but can you just give me one kind of?
There you go.
Can you give me one example? Just one small example.
We'd like to let Reese touch on that and what other states are finding as their experience, if that's okay.
Please proceed.
I believe that I had a bit of a hard time hearing the question, but was it some examples that have come out of sandboxes across the country?
That is correct.
Okay. Yes, thank you for the question. In Utah, the innovations that have come as a result of our sandbox aren't things that you'd think of. For example, we have a tow company that has taken a similar platform as Uber come into our sandbox to kind of streamline it and create a web-based system. We had another company, mortgage and the title company, where they streamlined the whole thing to make it more efficient for homeowners. Arizona's Universal Sandbox is still fairly new. A lot of their applicants have come from financial technologies, utilizing blockchain technology, which just creates this secure digital ledger. But those are two that are more universal in nature that have come out of Utah.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? See none, do we have a motion? We had a motion from Senator Howell. We have a second from Senator Boswell. Sasha, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Aye.
Senator Funky Fromeyer. Aye. Senator Gardler. Senator Harper Angel. Senator Howell. Senator Mills. Senator Storm. Senator Thomas.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to explain my aye vote briefly.
Please.
Okay, I'm going to vote aye, but again, Representative Pratt, I would encourage you to follow the same model we just used with juvenile justice, which is an important public policy issue in this state, and say for this as well, which is another important public policy matter in this state, that we do get diversity in terms of political viewpoints in this measure. I mean, you can see today just the diversity here
Yes.
in this committee. I think that's always healthy for our role in government.
I agree, yes, sir.
I do vote aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Wilson.
Aye.
Chairman Wise.
Aye. By a vote of 8-0, the motion does carry. I'm going to ask this to be put on consent. If it needs to be pulled off of consent with the concerns that Senator Thomas has raised, we're happy to do that, but I would entertain a motion for consent.
Motion.
We have a motion from Senator Wheeler, a second from Senator Howell. All those in favor of placing House Bill 264 on consent, please do so by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Representative Pratt, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, members.
Committees.
Members of the committee.
Next bill on our agenda is our last one for today. It's House Bill 313, an act relating to economic development. Sponsor is Representative Adam Bowling. Representative, welcome to the committee. First time we've seen you this session. Welcome here. And if you would, you know the routine. Introduce yourself for the record and you proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Adam Bowling. I'm a state representative in the 87th District, representing Bell and Harlan counties.
Thank you, Representative. Please proceed.
Thank you. House Bill 313, it is very simply a cleanup bill, as cleanup gets. The Cabinet's in agreement with it. The Kentucky Association for Economic Development is in agreement with it. And basically what it does is last year we passed House Bill 745, which created the Kentucky Product Development Initiative. In the budget bill, we funded that initiative with a $100 million investment. There were some discrepancies in the language between House Bill 745 and the budget bill, so this adheres all the language to what was put into the budget bill. And very simply, that is it. I will add that the first round recommendations have gone out. There were over 70 applications for this, for these monies. 55 were approved. About $34 million has been approved to date. So there's $66 million that will be available for round two. They'll start hosting webinars and information sessions and that in March, and then applications open in June of this year.
Good. Thank you for the background on that. We have a motion from Senator Boswell. We have a second from Senator Wheeler. Sasha, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Aye. Senator Funky Fromeyer. Aye. Senator Gardler. Senator Harper Angel. Aye. Senator Howell. Aye. Senator Mills. Senator Storm. Senator Thomas. Aye. Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Senator Wilson. Aye. Chairman Watt.
Also by a vote of 8-0.
Motion for consent.
We have a motion for consent on House Bill 313. We have a second from Senator Boswell. All those in favor of placing 313 on consent, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Representative Bella, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members.
Seeing no other business for today, I make the motion